I'd like to introduce you to what is, at least the way the translate works, is best to use AMD is what his name says. Now, I'm going to pause it real quick because you're going to see how quickly this just turns into an absolute, easy one. This is like that player we had a couple weeks ago, or about a month or two ago. 2,600 kills, 1,000 deaths in the VDAR. Okay, well, the VDAR is pretty good. I can admit that might be okay. I can say that's possibly. But you can see his top two vehicles are, quote-unquote, artillery vehicles, and he's egregiously good at them. Now, if he has been actually cheating, let me look at his record again. If he's actually been cheating for as long as this, where it's 2,700 battles, that would mean that he's been doing, he has almost 3,000 kills cheating for 3,000 battles, and he still has not been caught by Gaijin. And you could just watch the nonsense occur with this, where he's just aiming directly at people from distance, not using thermals, not using the laser rangefinder, shooting at things from distance. Now, you can realize why he's 2,900 and 1,000, because he's shooting at targets like through a tree or behind a tree and doing stuff like that, making it as painfully obvious as possible. And it's just, I don't know. Like, to me, I don't understand how stuff like this is just gotten away with so often. And this, to me, should be just what the anti-cheat automatically sees and detects instantly. But because Gaijin literally doesn't know how to set up their anti-cheat at all, we're left alone with this nonsense. And this guy has already 3 kills, all 3 of which he couldn't see, not using thermals, not using the whole point of what the VR is, which is blatantly overpowered with its vehicle. And pre this patch, he had a different name. So he changed his name after the last patch just so he could keep getting away with this nonsense and shooting people from 2 kilometers away, not even remotely being able to see them, loading up all 40 rounds because he needs all 40 rounds because he's shooting people from 2.5 kilometers away. This is exactly the reason why I wish Gaijin used their original anti-cheat, because it's just to the point where I don't even know what's the point of EAC anymore if we're going to keep doing this nonsense. The guy that I reported on a couple weeks ago that had like 1,000 kills with the VDAR and is doing the same thing that this guy is doing here, he's still not banned. And that was over a month ago. He was not banned around the same time as the other ban wave. And he's still playing blatantly fine. And this guy, within a minute of this battle, already had 3 kills. And now he's going to be shooting all these people across the map that he physically cannot see. And yeah, like this, any anti-cheat that is competent would see that this is a problem. But Gaijin doesn't see this as a problem because they aren't reacting to the fact that this game has a level of fog of war, and yet they're not reacting to it in the slightest because their anti-cheat doesn't do anything. I also know that Viking isn't doing anything either, and what's crazy about Viking is I discovered that Viking can be blocked by literally something as simple as a screenshot blocker, which means that if they take a picture of your screen and you have screenshot blocker on it, it'll show up as black. The crazy thing about that, if you think about that, is that if an image shows up black, wouldn't that mean that that's an automatic suspicion of someone being essentially going to be banned? Shouldn't that be an immediate classification as, oh, we need to inspect this player and look at what they're doing? And yet, somehow, they're not seeing that as anywhere near suspicious. And that's extreme to me in that they are still letting people do stuff like that. And yet, yeah, I read about that, and I was like, wow, Viking is such a good anti-cheat. It's taking photos and not doing literally anything to help the player base and not doing anything to help the problem at hand. And we still haven't updated anti-cheat, at least according to my game files, in 3 years at this point. We are running on basically 2 years. It's 2 years. Running on 2 years of easy anti-cheat being set up the way it was, and then not checking anything. People are able to put the little plus sign from arcade into realistic with little effort. I have a friend of mine who tested it on a free-to-play account, and he was able to do it with very minimal effort by basically dragging over the file that the plus sign is that exists for arcade into realistic, and he didn't even have to close the game. It just worked. So it's just turning into an absolute crap show where Gaijin is just allowing this to perpetuate and just not doing anything about it for months on end. And if you think about this player has been cheating long enough that he's gotten through multiple ban waves and is still not gone, doing as much as he's doing here because of how many kills he has. He has gone through at least a year of waves and is still not gone. So because of the fact that Gaijin has to manually review every single replay, this is the problem we're getting. And it's the reason why I probably play it less than, I would say I play less than 2 hours a week now in this game, unless I really want to play the game. But it's about around 2 hours a week that I'm playing this game. I used to play a lot of this game, and now I just don't, because it's just not viable to play anymore. It's very buggy. It doesn't feel like a lot of thing. I physically haven't spent money on this game in several years because of the coupons that I have. So if I want to spend money, I'll spend money. But at this point, I don't feel the reason to spend money because Gaijin's not caring about what's going on, and yet I know people were still going to spend money anyway. And if they actually had any sort of communication, I would love to give them communication and help them. But anytime I have any sort of communication with anyone, they just told me to use their reporting system, which clearly is not working if I report on this many players and they're still not gone. Because my list still has about 100 players that I looked at that are still not gone and have been cheating for around a year. And I know at least a couple people on that list that aren't cheating anymore, at least that I can look at, and yet they are still actively playing, still totally fine. The old replays I have, videos I have of them are still here and still recorded and are still on my webpage, and yet Gaijin will refuse to do anything about them. And it's very frustrating to deal with something like that. Also, the fact that this guy has used 40 rounds and has 4 kills to his name. So, and we wonder why his accuracy is basically dead on, and yet he doesn't kill literally anything. So, as always, if you have a comment you want to leave to me, please follow the ID format below. And if you want to leave me one, please do. I am currently about 2 weeks behind, 2-3 weeks behind. I'm still going through some of the replays the names pre-patch. So if you please be patient with me, I'll get to them as soon as possible. As always, I hope you have a rest of your morning, day, evening, or night, and have a good one.